Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. This time I thought we'd look at housing and how you can get a house in the upcoming patch 5.35. Patch 5.35 then is set to release on October the 13th, 2020, so just a couple of weeks away, which is all the hype. With that comes the Bosnian Southern Front, and of course a plethora of new other content, as well as new housing plots added to existing wards. This is going to be pretty huge, and so I wanted to really tell people how they can best prepare for this. Firstly, you need to know that the price of housing in this game is pretty expensive, so make sure you have plenty of gil before going into this. Basically, you're looking at 3 to 3.7 million gil for a small plot, depending on where the plot is located. If it is beachside property in Shirogane, for example, it's going to cost slightly more. You need to look at the plot price, but I would say that you are pretty much needing about 5 million gil to sort of clear things either side, just to make sure that you will have your house and have enough gil left over, because of course the worst possible feeling is spending all of your gil on housing and not being able to decorate it. So that's what I would aim for if I was you personally. Aim for about 5 million gil. Second of all, of course, we have medium plots. Medium plots are much bigger than the one here that you see. A medium plot is essentially this size here, as you can see. Very, very large. This is something that most people reserve for FCs. It's not really something you see too much on a private character, although it does happen. For the most part, I would say it's best for you to probably have a small as a personal house if you're going to go for one, and leave the rest for FCs. But that's just my personal opinion. You might have a different setup. Of course, this then will cost you at the very least. We're looking at the minimum price, I think, is 8 million gil, up to 10 million. But if you're actually having initial pricing, you're going to need 16 million gil for a 5th class type property, up to 20 million. So if I was you, I would sort of go into this, maybe 25 million would probably be a good point to look at. A medium house then, much more expensive than a small plot, and that's why I would say this is leaning closer towards reserving this for FC people. The thing I will say, though, about patch 5.35 is they have reduced the ability, like they've taken it away, basically. You are able to purchase even a medium and a large straight away as soon as a patch goes live as a personal house. This didn't used to be a factor in previous housing, but this time around you can walk straight up to a large or a medium as an individual and just straight up purchase it. That is an option this time around. There's lots of drama surrounding that particular decision, but that's how it's going to be, so bear that in mind. But again, obviously, if you've got some decency within you, then you'll know that having an FC of 70 players, having an FC house finally is going to feel a lot better than you trying to fill the void on your own of a large house. So a large plot then, much like the one we have on the hill for our FC. This is actually where you need a lot of gil, basically. This is like the gil sink in the game. So this initial pricing will cost you 40 million for a 5th class plot, but a 1st class will be 50 million. So that's the base sort of initial pricing that you're looking at here. So you're going to need about, I'd say about 55 million to really secure yourself with this and actually have something to do left over. So minimum is about 50 million. You'll be able to get away with it. But of course, depending on if the large plot is in a different particular area, it could cost you as low as 40 million. But the likelihood is that you're going to be paying much more than that. So I would aim for about 55 mil, just to be safe if you're going for a large plot. It's not exactly something I would recommend for personal housing, again, but that's just, again, my personal belief in what you should do and perhaps you should reserve for other people. Because myself, for example, it took us many years to get this FC house, and when we finally did, it feels just incredible to have somewhere for everybody to enjoy rather than just one person. We have stables and stuff. It just makes an FC feel alive much more than it already is. But yeah, so that's basically the pricing that you need to think about in terms of the plot size. So let's move on to other elements you need to be aware of. Okay, so you've got the money to actually get a plot, but how do I actually get a plot, Meoni? Well, one of my top tips for you would be to log out the night before the patch goes live next to a residential guide. So as you can see, residential area guides. This one is for the Goblet, which is probably the least desirable of the housing zones. Well, you might disagree with that for the most part. It's the least popular. This one's located next to the Miners Guild. There's also ones, obviously, for the Lavender Beds, which is in Old Gridania at the pier next to a ferry. Same for the Mist. The way to get to that is obviously a ferry down in Lower Limsa, lower decks. And, of course, if you're going for Shirogane, you need to go to Kagane, next to the docks there. Another thing you can do is actually log out inside the housing district itself and just basically keep yourself next to, like, the north, for example, of Goblet or whatever, next to the transition, and then you can just switch between the wards yourself. The main reason I would log out in this sort of location is because you load into the game, which is one loading screen, and then you talk to an NPC. Click on one of the new wards, because basically there will be wards 22, 23, and 24. There are 3 new wards being added to all housing zones. Click on one of those. Then click on, you know, for example, either main division or subdivision. Sometimes people click on subdivision and just go straight there. I would say go for, like, a happy medium. Go for, like, here, like in the first plots. But go for, like, one of the 3. I would go for the middle, personally. It's going to be complete RNG if you select the same one as everyone else. But you've got 3 new wards to choose from with a division and a subdivision. So that's essentially, you know, 6 new wards, if you think about it, if you count the subdivision, basically. You know what I mean? 6 new sets of plots per zone, which is quite a lot considering, you know, everything. So, yeah, it really depends where you want to live as well, how easy you're going to get a plot. I mean, it's all well and good saying, oh, I want to live in Shirogane and I want to have beachside property. Well, everyone else is going to have the same idea. One of the other solutions I have seen is basically people snagging a small house in the Goblet as fast as possible and then relocating later. That's something I did myself for my small plot on Ragnarok. I basically ended up getting a house that nobody really wanted, although there was quite a few people. I spent 15 hours camping for it in the Goblet. And then I relocated later to the Mist when something opened up. And relocation is instant, and obviously purchasing past the actual patch going live is not. That's the difference. You can relocate instantly, but you have to wait for an arbitrary timer if you're buying otherwise. The timer won't be present, obviously, for the new wards, so as soon as you log in, you can walk straight up to the placard of one of these new plots in a new ward and just straight up purchase it for yourself or your FC. It's going to be as straightforward as that. As long as you have a guild and you're the first to click it, server permitting, you'll get yourself a plot. So yeah, what other things is there to think about? Okay, so something we've not talked about yet. If you're an FC, obviously, and you want to actually get an FC house, there are things to remember before you jump straight into housing. A little tick box for you to fulfill before you get straight into the idea of jumping into purchasing one. Basically, your FC must be rank 6. Okay, make sure your rank is 6 with your FC. If not, you need to level that up. It's pretty easy to do. You can do stuff together, invite more people, level through the game. It's not too difficult to reach rank 6. You also need a maximum, a minimum members of 4 players to actually purchase a plot. You cannot, as an FC, purchase a plot unless you have 4 or more players in it at rank 6. That's very important to actually bear in mind. If you're after a personal house, however, you must be level 50 at least in the video game and also be 2nd lieutenant or higher in a grand company. This is incredibly important. Without 2nd lieutenant or higher in a grand company, you can't even have an apartment or anything like that. It's one of the prerequisites that's always been there. And yeah, that's something you need to bear in mind before you go head into this. By the way, as well, whilst we're talking about this, dream properties, you might have your eye set on something perfect. I would say go for it. Like, go for it. Go for Shirogane beachfront property if that's what you really want. Go for your dream house in the mist. Do what you can. But as soon as you realize it's not there, don't lose hope, because a lot of people will be relocating their property to one of the new larger plots or a medium plot from where they currently are. So it might be worthwhile investing, if you have the time, if you've got a low population server, to actually get yourself a really affordable plot now, something you don't want, such as a small in the goblet, for example, or something like that, and then relocating as soon as the patch goes live, if that's a possibility for you. If not, then you're going to have to go to those old plots that people are, and you're going to have to spam that placard. You're going to have to spam that placard and hope that the timer pops up, and do it for 15 up to like 15 to 24 hours. I think it is. Like I spent 15 hours. A friend of mine did 13 hours. Someone else I knew got it in 8 hours. The timer on housing purchasing is garbage. It really is, and it's one of my least favorite parts of the game for sure. But that's what I would recommend to you anyway. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The only thing I would say is practice makes perfect. If, for example, you're going for a plot, make sure you learn the layout of the zone you want to be in. For example, like learn the aetheryte locations that you're teleporting to, and definitely attune to things, because the worst thing you could possibly do is go, okay, I want a lavender plot and I just zoned into this ward, and you walk all the way to plot 3 or 28. You know, if I want that large over here, I'm not going to walk all the way there, am I? I'm going to go, right, lavender northwest. That's where I need to teleport to. Practice makes perfect. You've just come off the ferry, right? Lavender northwest. Boom. Done. Instant peasy. Easy peasy. Yeah, everyone else will be trying to do this as well. If you run across here, obviously you can mount in these areas. You know, mount it up and go. Learn the lay of the land, right? There are sometimes invisible walls, you know, that are going to be a problem. Sometimes you can just hop down like that. Go straight to the placard, boop, beam, boop, and purchase the house. Easy peasy. Don't mess around. Obviously, this favors people who have fast loading times. A lot of people will recommend, like I say, either logging out next to an NPC to queue in, even though the cities might be a little bit overcrowded when you log in. The other option is to actually log out in one of these, in one of these wards themselves. I would say log out next to the actual entrance as easily as you possibly can, just to make it easier on yourself. Down now, what was it? Amethyst Shallows? I think that's called. I'm not used to Lavender Beds. Amethyst Shallows. There we go. I'll go to the subdivision anyway. Another option you could do, obviously, is subdivisions. It might be overlooked initially by people, but yes, I would say log out somewhere here. If you were going for a lavender plot, I would log out here. Then I'd click on the ferry skipper, boop, 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 click on review tabs, find somewhere I want to go, and then press select, you know. Easy as that, right? That's 2 loading screens, whereas you would have essentially 3 loading screens otherwise, potentially, or some congestion. The servers are going to get absolutely rattled. They always do, so don't expect everything to go smoothly. It's a video game with lots of other players that are trying to do exactly the same thing you are. So my top tip is basically don't lose hope. Never lose hope, because you will always have the option to get housing in the future. I've known people that have said, oh, I've tried for so many years to try and get a house. I've just had no luck. You're so lucky. There's nothing lucky about it. It's, you know, time, investment, and having the gill on hand, basically. You've got to have those ridiculous times to log into the game to get it. You really need to want housing more than anything else, I think, to really make it work on any other day than a patch day when they add housing. So this is a great opportunity for you if if you can actually get time to play the game in the morning of the patch, then you've got a good chance, as good chance as anyone else. Obviously, a good SSD if you're running on PC is going to be quite important. The faster you can load into the game, the better. So try and relocate your Final Fantasy XIV install off of your spinning Rust onto SSDs if you can possibly. Yeah, that you should definitely do that, even if it's for a temporary system, temporary install. Highly advised. SSD runtime and you know, the installation of a game and the running of a game and patching of a game is so much faster to an SSD. It just really is. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say, apart from good luck. And I'm sure if you put your mind to it, you can all get houses. I'm personally very happy with what I've got in the game, so I won't be hunting anything larger, for example, than my small. I don't think that's fair, and our FC is very, very fortunate to have a large from last time they added housing. I was the one who managed to snap that up for us, and I could not be happier. But good luck to everyone out there. I'll be taking a look on the patch day just to see how people are doing, see what plots open up. And yes, but good luck. Enjoy October the 13th. That's the most important thing. Enjoy the game you play. Don't stress over it too much. But yes, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you kindly for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Remember, it's just a game. Don't get too riled up over it. It's not worth it.